speaker for today. So today's topic will be anxiety management concept and techniques. Right, a tried and tested model developed in UK. So because I introduced him to be our speaker today, I invited him to be a speaker today, so I think I'll be the best person to introduce him. I get to know Harry 11 years ago. He's my customer, and he bought my machine. So and then I saw him again about 5 years ago when I was the AG for Garden City. He was there, Marina City. He was there to give talk as their speaker. And actually, he featured me in one of his books, that the 6 dimension of wellness, the asceticism. So that book happens to be the Amazon bestseller. So he was the founder and CEO of iCloud Hub Private Limited, practitioner, best-selling book author, data scientist, former leadership facilitator in HP, a global cross-cultural performance development advantage, and a leadership to employee well-being ambassador, author of Amazon bestseller book on presentism. It's quite interesting. He shared with me, he said, he can be there, the worker can be there, but he's not there, physically there, but mine is not there. So okay, and then from presentism to Sikhism. This one I didn't read, I don't have this book, but in HRM magazine. And the NGO, HR, and strategy consultant to the management committee, board and subcommittee, chair and invited speaker at several international HR congress. 1,000 have benefited from his learning program. So, Harry?
Yes.
You're here, right?
Yes.
So, you have the screen. I stop sharing.
Thank you.
Share your PowerPoint.
Thank you so much, everybody. And Roger, thank you so much for that very generous introduction. So it is a distinct honor. I hope you all can hear me. Logistics first. Am I okay? Thumbs up?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So first of all, my deep respects to everybody in the audience. All those who have put your videos on. I am really, it's such a lovely sight to see all of you. Before I keep talking, I just wanted to get a couple of housekeeping items. Roger, how long do I have? How many minutes?
30 minutes.
Okay, I'll try to definitely keep it within that. The second ground rule is, are you all, I can see you are a wonderful audience because all of you have voluntarily muted your lines, which is very, very nice of you. So that makes my job easier. And one more housekeeping point is, how comfortable are you using the chat? Thumbs up if you're comfortable, because I'd like to keep it a little bit interactive, although it's 30 minutes. So thank you so much. Awesome. Okay, so you can put your thumbs back down. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now and just quickly kick off this in a few seconds. All right, here we go. Let me show you some tidbits. So as Roger was saying, you can see my screen, right? So I had the privilege of giving a little talk on the topic of my research at the Rotary Club of Marina City. And you may know this gentleman. Let me see if I can move here. Yeah, do you know him? Some of you might know him, right? Yeah, he was the chairman or the president of that time. So yeah, just a little fun fact. I'm going to close this down and I'm going to jump into our topic for today. All right, here we go. So thank you very much, all of you, for inviting me to this talk. It's really an honor and privilege. Now I'm going to ask you all to use your chat box. You are about 16 people excluding me. So if any of you have experienced anxiety ever in your life so far, please go to the chat and put a Y for yes. If you haven't experienced anxiety ever, no need to put anything. But if you have experienced anxiety, please put a yes. So I can see how many of you have experienced it. Okay, I can see out of 17, 9 of you have, and the rest 8 of you are either Iron Man or something else. Or you're just shy. Okay. So I'm going to be as humorous as I can. So please take my jokes in a good spirit. Okay. So let me go on and move to the next topic. So anxiety is the precursor to adversity. What does that mean? It means if you can manage your anxiety, you can eliminate adversity. Okay. It's a very cool statement. Now, you know that people talk a lot about resilience, right? Now, you cannot teach anybody resilience. You can only teach people to overcome adversity. Okay, think about this. So, I'm going to leave you on that and I'm going to talk to you about this. Was already introduced, so I'll skip this. Before I move further, if you all have QR codes, I invite you, most welcome to get in touch with me on LinkedIn. You can just scan it. And if you need any more information, there's another website. So I'm going to just hold this page for maybe 10 seconds. Okay, super. So I think that should be good. Okay, now, disclaimer. Okay, while some of you might find advice provided in this talk to be helpful as a complementary approach, please do not look to this talk for medical advice. Okay, because anxiety is sometimes wrongly seen as a medical problem. It's not, and neither is this talk. Okay, this talk is only representing some of my own personal understanding as well as some of the research I did in trying to bring you the best ideas on how to manage anxiety. While I'm saying this, I can tell you one thing. There are only two types of people who don't experience anxiety. Do you know who those two people are? Okay, since you're on mute, let me help you. They're either dead or they are psychopaths. Okay, these are the only two people in the planet who do not experience anxiety. So, dead because it doesn't matter, and psychopaths because they don't know what they're doing. They will do whatever they do and don't understand any anxiety. You know, they have no emotions when they commit whatever acts they commit. Okay, so if you are, I think none of us are in those two categories, so I suspect this might be helpful to all of you. Okay, so to set off this topic, I'm going to ask you to indulge me for just a minute. This is an important video I'm going to show you. How many of you have seen the movie Red Crimson? Crimson Red? Anybody? Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington. Okay, never mind. It's okay. This is an oldish kind of a movie, but this concept is very important in managing anxiety. So I'm going to play you a small clip. Here's what you're going to see. Okay, what you're seeing on the still is actually the interior of a submarine. It's a ship. And you will see I've taken a little clip of a scene where there is a lot of anxiety happening. And I would like you to observe the behavior of the crew. And at the end of this little snippet, you will see the picture of Gene Hackman, who is the commander of the ship. You will only see him for a very brief moment, okay? But that's all I want you to see. And then we'll have a quick debrief. Are you ready? All right, here we go. So I repeat, it's a very short clip. It's about a very, scene with a lot of anxiety. You'll find the crew, and in the end, you'll see the captain of the crew. Here we go.
Collision alarm! Sound collision alarm! Action! 2,500 yards! Brake ship for impact!
Hang on your ass, gentlemen! 2,000 yards! 1,500 yards! Bearing 070! 071! 1,200 yards! 1,000 yards and closing fast!
Con, radio, receiving emergency action message. Recommend alert 1. Recommend alert 1.
950 yards!
Launch at 5 is.
Okay. So that's all I wanted to have you listen to this. So I'm going to again ask you to use the chat room. Can any of you tell me what were the crew doing? Just type in your opinion there. What was the crew doing? Okay, looking for leadership. That's good. Reporting situations. Yes. Alvin says, I don't know what they were doing. Good. Panicking. Yes. Okay, good. So these are some good responses. Waiting for orders. Okay. Right. I would like to pick on a few things. Reporting situations. Okay. From Peng Hun. That's a very important response. Panicking in a way is also a good response because this will tie up with what I'm going to be telling you later on. Okay. So I would like to keep us focused on two things: panicking, reporting situations, and let's move on to the next idea on what I'm going to share. Okay, so let's move. So here's the point. Okay, anxiety is an emotion, right? It's not an illness. And anxiety is when the ship, I'm using a metaphor here, when the ship, which is the mind, gets taken over by the crew. As you know, we all have a very chatty mind, right? Our minds are always chattering. It's never quiet unless we go to sleep or unless we are meditating, right? So we have a chattering mind. And what is happening is, in the ship, you have the captain, which is actually the rational and logical mind. And if it is not skilled to handle the crew, what you end up with is a lot of anxiety. So that's the connection between the scene I showed you and what I'm saying now. You got that? Yeah. And then I'll tell you how to use this metaphor. Okay. So anxiety is not an emotion. It's an emotion. It's not an illness. It's like the mind is the ship. The crew is the chattering mind, sometimes who wants to be heard. And the captain is a logical thinking mind, which we all have. And it's not always skilled to handle the crew. Okay. Our mind is not skilled. So in my little time I'm going to have here, I'm going to try to give you the skill on how you can manage this crew. Okay. So meet the crew. So the little crew in our heads, which are the chattering mind, these are the people. Okay. Concern is one type of crew. Fear, worries, the tendency to keep checking. I know some of us has this tendency. They like to check when they leave home. They want to check if they turned off the lights. They may come back, turned off the fans. Then anger, of course, many of us are familiar with, and uncertainty. So these are the different crews that are sitting in our head, and based on the situation, these different crews will try to shout and chatter in your head. Think about it. So based on the situation, okay, suppose you are late and you are driving to, wherever you want to go. What do you think? Which of the crew do you think is shouting into your head? Use the chat box. You are late for an appointment and you have a calm, rational mind, but in the process of trying to reach your destination, some of these crew are going to be chatting to you. Which one in your case is the chatter? All of them, Kenneth. Okay. Worry, fear, anger, uncertainty. Exactly. In Parveen's case, worry is the biggest chatterer. Okay. Super. Good. So thank you for all those responses. It's very true, right? And can I say that when we are in that situation, we are facing anxiety? Yes. Since I can't see you, please chat with use chat box to say yes or no. Yes, most of us will say yes. So there you go. So I have just given you an example of how you can tie in these crew members and actually telling you something. They are screaming into your head. You have a rational mind. And now just imagine that there is a car that comes in front of you. The road is clear in front of you. And he suddenly starts driving slowly to make your life even more interesting. Okay. So you know what's going to happen next. Most likely you're going to be honking, you're going to flash your headlights, and you just want to get the hell of the guy out of your way and you want to drive. Now that is when you as the captain, as the rational thinking mind, are not listening, or you're letting these crew members shout louder than you. Okay, that's the skill I'm going to now share with you. So these crew members, if you let them alone, if you let them loose, they are going to be chattering away to glory. Okay, they'll be keeping on giving you impulses of anger, uncertainty, worry, fear, all of those things you mentioned. Okay, and you can't let that happen, because if you let that happen, you know what's going to happen in my scenario, right? We don't want any of us to meet with accidents. We don't want any of us to be booked for overspeeding. And by the way, I can share with you, I cut a red light, unfortunately, and I had to pay $400 fine recently. So I am one of those chastised members. So I would not want any of you to go through that. Right. So an unskilled captain, what they do, this is very important to understand. You know, if you ignore the crew, they will land up starting to shout. This is again very interesting. You should, and the only way to stop anxiety from shouting is to listen to them. This is a key skill I want you to hopefully adopt. So next time you see or you're in a situation where you feel anxious, try to understand which of these crew members is shouting at you. And the important thing is, it's only when the crew stops shouting can your rational thinking mind, be heard. Okay, so there's something here. If you allow the crew members to keep making you angry, making you worry, and you keep on listening to only that sound, you are going to get very anxious. So at some point in time, you have to engage your captain, which is your rational thinking mind. The next idea I'm going to give you is how to do that. Okay, so here's the key. Don't fight it. Become aware of it, but don't stop. In case you want to stop your anxiety, you cannot stop your anxiety by shutting down any of these crew members, because they are going to shout even louder. This is the key learning in learning how to manage anxiety. So let's see what the options are. So most of you in this group are senior people. I can see that. And I can see some very young, upcoming sparks in this group. So maybe it's helpful for you. So you know one thing, and when you are a people leader, people do their best work when they feel empowered to achieve. Correct? And our crew members are no different. Mr. Worry, Mr. Anger, Mr. Fear, all of these guys, they will do the best work when they feel empowered to achieve. All they want to know is that you have heard them. All Mr. Check wants to know is that you have heard me. All Mr. Worry wants to know is that I have heard you. All Mr. Fear wants to know is that you have heard Mr. Fear. That's all they want. So, what do? When these crew members start chatting at you, you acknowledge them. You say, yeah, I hear you. Mr. Fear, I hear you. Okay, if a crew is causing anxiety, the logical mind, become aware of them. You listen to them. And the most important thing is give them some love and say thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fear. I heard you. You're trying to, tell me that I should be afraid of something. I respect it. Maybe there's a little danger in the front. Thank you so much. I heard you. And the last thing that we do is the captain affirms that the alarm is not the scenario that the crew is painting. So the crew, like you saw in the submarine, as it turns out, they are giving you alerts about a situation that they perceive is dangerous. But for those who watch the movie, you will see that it was a false alarm. There was no alarm in it at all. Okay, the whole movie is about that and about two senior people trying to fight. In this case, luckily, we don't have two captains. There's only one, which is your rational mind. Okay, so that will be easier for us to manage. And always talk to your crew with kindness and positivity. Which means if Mr. Anger is knocking at you and saying, that person insulted you, how dare he or she talk like this? That is Mrs. Anger telling you something. So you say, hey, thank you for letting me know, Mr. Anger. I heard you, but let me go back and think how I should respond to this person. That's the way to tackle it. Okay, and you can practice this instantly. I'm sure the moment this call is over, we are all going to be exposed to potentially anxiety causing elements in our lives. So I would encourage you to immediately apply this and see how well it works. Okay, now I'm going to give you a different spin. I'm going to help you achieve, how do you love your anxiety, crew? So here's the good part of these crew members. They actually help you. Like this Mr. Check, Mr. Checking, he is the crew that makes you reread your email before before hitting the send button, which is a very helpful, emotion. Mr. Uncertainty, this is the person that helps you check your pocket before you leave home to make sure that you have the car keys or your house door keys or your purse on your pocket. Mr. Anger, for example, he's a helpful guy if it is used properly. He's the chap who's going to energize you in order to address that person who was causing you some irritation. Mr. Worry, he's the guy who's going to help you go for that health check. Okay, you don't have to get worried and keep listening to this Mr. Worry shouting at you. No, you listen to the worry, say thank you, Mr. Worry, for letting me know I should be worried, and then you take action. Okay, if it's a student or college student or a school going student, worry is what makes them want to do their homework. So get the homework done. If we have as adults a to-do list and we are worried about not doing it, say, Mr. Worry, thank you for letting me know and let me go and do the stuff. Okay, and so on and so forth. In the interest of time, I think you guys are smart people. I think you understand what I'm trying to say. So in the case of concern, very important, Mr. Concern is when something too important to simply lose focus of, it triggers concern. This is so important. This last one, Mr. Concern, is what causes us really the anxiety. Because all of these crews ultimately leads to concern. Okay, so Mr. Concern is telling you, I'm getting very concerned about, anxiety. Then you say, this means there is something that is too important that I should not lose focus of. And that's how you appreciate these people, and then you allow your rational mind to take over and overcome the situation. Okay, so with that, I'm going to pause. I've come to the end of my very quick input to you. And now that you know your ship must already be sailing differently now, since I've given you the tips, I hope it's more peaceful going forward for each of you. I can more than happily share these slides with Roger, and continue to use these newfound skills. It's been a very quick one. This is part of a larger anxiety management course that I do. But I want to just stop here, and feel free to ask me any questions. I want to keep it short so that I can entertain some questions. Just unmute your line and feel free to talk to me.